You might see the title in the thumbnail and say that Monaco forming France is impossible, and you would be right. This video is not meant to be realistic, but it will be the most interesting and unique alternate history scenario you will ever watch. Let's make a bet, you will watch the video up until the end, and if you are not impressed, press the dislike button. On the opposite end, if I do something in this scenario that you haven't seen before, leave a like. This video is part of my series of what if a microstate forms an empire. I already did these videos, so it's time for Monaco to shine. As you may know, in the year of 1870, France was having a rough time. They just got involved in a war against Prussia. The French would lose their war and their enemy would grow even stronger, forming the German Empire. I want to highlight this war, since I will be using it as a point of divergence in my scenario, and we can explore the possibility on how Monaco could have formed France. Before I get into that, however, I want to show you what Monaco looks like today. They are this tiny strip of southern France. Monaco is the second smallest country in the world. Believe it or not, the country is even 40% smaller than the New York Central Park, which is absurd to think about. Monaco, however, is the most densely populated country in the world. This is due to the nation having no taxes, attracting wealthy people to live there. Having that in mind, it would be very interesting for the world history on what would happen if Monaco had controlled France. The tiny nation is not known for starting conflicts or wars, rather they were focused on improving the lives of the people living inside the nation. I believe you won't expect what would happen by the end of the video, or even how Monaco could become France, so watch up until the end. Also, if you end up enjoying the video, I would strongly appreciate if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Monaco used to be a lot bigger, believe it or not. For most of its history, the tiny nation has survived by allying themselves with larger and stronger countries. This includes Genoa, Spain, France, and Sardinia-Piedmont. Monaco did the clever decision to become a Sardinian puppet state, which prevented the Sardinians from invading and annexing the country. In 1848, things would turn dire for Monaco, as they had split in two. On one side was Monaco, and on the other were the free cities of Mentone and Rocabruna. This didn't concern Sardinia-Piedmont, their overlord, since they effectively still ruled over these territories. The separate state became another protectorate of Sardinia. Sardinia-Piedmont, the overlord of Monaco, fought against Austria to secure their claims over Lombardy-Veneto, where the major city of Milano is located. I recently visited Milano, this is real footage you're seeing on the screen right now. Pretty interesting place, but it was too crowded for my liking. Anyways, Sardinia could never beat Austria alone, so France supported Sardinia. Together, they defeated the Austrians and soon after that, Sardinia-Piedmont had formed Italy. In return of France supporting Sardinia, they received the provinces of Savoy and Nice. It was unclear to whom Monaco belonged to after that, so Napoleon III, the Emperor of France, took 95% of the land, leaving Monaco with this tiny strip of land. This is how we ended up with the modern day borders of Monaco. But what if all that changed? What if Monaco grew stronger and by the time of the Franco-Prussian War came around, they would maneuver the situation and gain land out of it? In our timeline, the Franco-Prussian War started officially because Spain was left without an heir to the throne. The candidate was part of the ruling family in Prussia. The French would not allow it, as they would be encircled by hostile nations. Another reason for the Franco-Prussian War is that France was getting worried that Prussia is getting too strong, as they previously had defeated the Austrians in just 2 months, forming the North German Confederation. I have a coin from 1865, a couple of years before the Franco-Prussian War. On the back, it shows the face of the monarch, Emperor Napoleon III. What is more interesting is that down here it says BB, which means that this coin was minted in the city of Strasbourg, the very same city France would lose to Germany in the war to come. The Franco-Prussian War went extremely well, for the Prussian side. They captured the French Emperor Napoleon III as well as his entire army of 100,000 soldiers in the city of Sedan. This was a humiliating defeat for France. The city of Paris was besieged for 4 months until a peace treaty was signed with the Prussians, who by that time had already formed Germany. France was stripped of Alsace-Lorraine and the French would be focused on regaining their lost land in the following war. Having all this in mind, let us create a scenario where Monaco will form France. It is not very realistic, but I bet it will be the most interesting and unique alternate history scenario you will ever watch. After the war against Austria, Sardinia-Piedmont will still give the provinces of Savoy and Nice to France. Monaco would propose to the emperor himself that he annexes most of the country but lets Monaco be free, pretty close to what happened in our timeline. All of this would happen in the year of 1859. Just 4 years before that, something very important for the outcome of this scenario would happen. The opening of the Monte Carlo casino in Monaco, which happened in July 1865. Why is this important? You'll see right now. At the beginning of the Franco-Prussian War, France would be a little bit more cautious. For the sake of this scenario, Emperor Napoleon would not get captured in Sedan. Napoleon would travel from Paris, the capital city of France, to Monaco, where he would spend most of his time. France was performing well on the battlefield, but the Prussians were performing even better. There started to be a shortage of weapons and military uniforms for the French army. Unfortunately for the French, they couldn't afford all of this, since their population was against raising taxes to fund the war, since France was the aggressive power. Napoleon would start selling his personal belongings, including rare paintings and some of his palaces. This would generate some money for the French army, but it wouldn't be enough. The Prussians would push and take Strasbourg, with the cities of Mulhouse and Metz being threatened. The small town of Saverne would be encircled. 5,000 French soldiers would surrender to the Prussians and become prisoners of war. Slogans would appear on the street of Paris, the capital city of France. They would read out, "Don't let Paris become Saverne." This would refer to not letting Paris be encircled and destroyed by the enemy. The French government would still be broke, and no major power was willing to lend money to them due to fear of not being able to pay it back. Emperor Napoleon III, with a losing war in his hand, as well as an unsatisfied population and money problems, had the genius idea to save the nation from imminent collapse. He would go and gamble in the Monte Carlo casino in Monaco. Since France didn't have any money, they wouldn't be able to play the roulette wheel, right? Wrong. Yes, France didn't have enough money to bet, but luckily for them, the casino was accepting other forms of payment. The payment would be in the form of land, which France had plenty of. Since Monaco had lost 95% of their land 10 years ago to the French, they would be willing to take it back. It was agreed that the land was worth 1.1 million French francs. If Emperor Napoleon wins, he would receive the amount of money I just mentioned, and if he loses, France would lose the territory that was stripped away from Monaco. The French Emperor associated the color black on the casino table with Prussia, so he bet against it. Black can be found on the flag of Prussia, and etc. Emperor Napoleon would prefer the color red, as it was the color of blood, which he associated with honor and dying in battle, just like his soldiers. The ball would spin around the table a couple of times before landing on the number 25, which would be colored red. Napoleon had won his bet and the casino paid him 1.1 million French francs. With this money, equipment was able to be purchased for the French army. The newly equipped soldiers marched on the occupied city of Saverne, taking it with a breeze. This would be cheered by the French public, as they were happy that France would perform well on the battlefield. Little did they know how dire the situation was economically and that France couldn't afford this success. Not so long after that, Napoleon would need more money to fund his military campaign. He would bet again on red, associating the color black with the Prussians. The bet would be the same, 1.1 million French francs. The ball would spin around the table a couple of times, landing on 7, which is a red number. The French Emperor had won yet again. With the money he received, he pushed back the Prussians back to their border. This was starting to look easy for Napoleon, as he turned the tides of the war completely for free. The Prussians would counterattack heavily, taking the city of Metz and Mulhouse. This would again anger the French public, who thought that they were winning the war. In reality, France had just been lucky in some of their battles, as well as the funding they received from the casino was not sustainable. The Prussians in the end of the day had a superior army command. Emperor Napoleon was now feeling confident that the casino is just giving him free money. In his mind, he couldn't lose the war because of that. He sat in the chair again and bet the initial amount of 1.1 million French francs. He didn't bet on the color black yet again, going with the color of red instead. The ball would spin around the wheel. After a couple of seconds of anticipation, it would land on the number 11. Unfortunately for Napoleon, the color was black, the color of the enemy. The emperor had just lost some land to Monaco. This didn't appear to concern him, as he was a little surprised, but still believed it was free money. France had a lot more land to bet. The city of Nice would be the next bet that Napoleon makes. If he wins, he would regain the land he had just lost, as well as he would receive 2 million French francs. The ball would spin around and would land on the number of 33, black color yet again. Napoleon wasn't concerned about his losses, because he believed he can bet until he wins big time. The cities of Cannes and Antibes would be next on the betting table. Again, Napoleon would lose, because he would keep betting on the color red. It is here when I want to mention a concept known as gambler's fallacy. To put it simply, this is the incorrect belief that if a particular event occurs more often than normal during the past, it is less likely to happen in the future, or vice versa. Let me give you an example. The odds of winning on the casino table remain the same, no matter what happened on the table before that. Many people have fallen victim to that fallacy, saying that the color they are waiting for is due to come. The most famous example of the gambler's fallacy happened in the exact same casino the video is based around. In the summer of 1913, the ball landed in black 26 times in a row. Gamblers lost millions betting on red, hoping for the streak to get broken. The main protagonist of the video, Emperor Napoleon III, would fall victim to the gambler's fallacy. He would bet the entire island of Corsica, the birthplace of his uncle, Napoleon Bonaparte. Corsica wasn't so important to France back then. The people didn't even mostly speak French and were constantly rebelling against French rule. So, Napoleon wouldn't mind losing this island if it gives him the chance to regain all the lands he lost in the past, plus some extra money to fund the army with. Red would be the color of choice for the emperor. As the ball spins, it would land on black. Napoleon would start to sweat and feel the pressure now. He had just lost plenty of land with nothing to show for it. He didn't know what to do. Right at that time, however, his messenger would inform him that he is needed back home, since the Prussians have broken the French line of defense. The Prussians advanced on the front line, taking Metz, Mulhouse, and being dangerously close to Nancy. The French public wanted blood, but they still didn't know about the losses that the emperor had on the casino table. There was no other option for Napoleon. He had to win and regain his past losses. Marseille would be lost, then Montpellier. It would look dire for the emperor, as he was betting larger and larger chunks of land just to regain his losses. Not so long after that, most of southern France would be lost to Monaco. The emperor couldn't continue to play this day. He wanted to try his luck for the final time next day. In the night of the New Year's Eve, the year changed from 1870 to 1871. Napoleon decided to bet on red yet again, because he wanted to break the streak of black, as well as because red featured the number 1. He would bet the entire nation of France, without the people knowing it. It would be all or nothing for the emperor. He had already lost 7 times in a row, so it's due for him to win. The ball would spin around the wheel. As the seconds feel like minutes, it would finally stop on the number of 11, the color black. Napoleon had just lost everything. He would try to protest it and want another chance, but he would be escorted out of the building. Kids, this is why you shouldn't gamble. When the news reached the French public, they wanted Napoleon hanged for saving their nation. In the chaos, the Germans would push close to the city of Paris. To prevent a total collapse, Monaco signed a peace treaty with the Germans. The fact that Germany wanted to sign a peace treaty with the government of Monaco instead of an alternative French government showed to the world that Germany recognizes Monaco as the heir and the rightful owner to all French lands. The French public would prefer to have the Prince of Monaco as their ruler, due to the French opposition taking a lot of time to rally support for them. Germany would receive Alsace-Lorraine and Nancy, a bit more than what they had gotten in our timeline. Monaco would now rule over France, imposing their policies over the nations. These policies turned out to be quite good, improving the lives of the common citizen in the nation. I hope that I truly shocked you with this alternative history scenario, that you were able to see something that never has been done by another alternate history YouTuber. San Marino forming Italy is another video that I'm very proud of. If you like this video, I bet you will like this one as well. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.